Hello and welcome back. I didn't think I'd be doing a reaction to the East Texas A&M game, but fuck it, why not? Um, 77-3, obviously complete domination. And what really stood out was, coming off the Bama win, huge upset. You got the Pritchard tragedy. If you don't know, freshman linebacker that was shot like a day after the Bama game. I think he's in critical condition but stable. I think that was the last update on him. So obviously hope he recovers because that's a shame. Um, don't know much on the background of that story. It sounds like for what information is available, it was just wrong place at the wrong time. I don't think he was involved, as far as I know, in any shenanigans. So you got that as the context coming off all that, and the team came out focused and energized. How many times have we seen in the last, call it decade, where, yeah, we've blown out an FCS team. That's happened, right? But it's felt like we've sleptwalked through it. And, maybe we win by 40 or so. Nothing to see here. And some frustrating moments because it feels like they're just going through the motions. This team does not feel like that. The last time, what I immediately thought of when the score got so out of hand was the 2013 game. I remember I was at a local Gator bar, actually, of all places, watching us, score 80 on Idaho. And it happened to be the same day that UF lost to Georgia Southern. And so it's easy to think of that game when you watch today's outcome. And no, not saying this Florida State team is remotely close to that 2013 team. But that was a lot of fun. I intended maybe just watching the first half, but it got to the point where I felt like I was watching a video game. It was just comically, like entertaining at that point. And it reminded me of when I was a kid in the 90s. You would keep watching to watch the young kids, to watch the backups come in. So really enjoyed that. How can you not? They tied the largest margin of victory in FSU history. 74-point win, tied for a win in like 1949. So, tip of the cap to those boys for not just going through the motions and staying laser focused and just dominating a bad, and make no mistake, East Texas A&M University is a bad FCS team. But I will say this. If you want some kind of comparison, their week one game was versus SMU, who, I don't think SMU's probably all that great. They did beat us last year, obviously. Who didn't? But SMU is obviously an ACC team, and East Texas A&M, I'll just call it ETAMU, outgained SMU, if memory serves. SMU did win the game by multiple scores, but so it's like, okay, you start seeing that kind of stuff. You're like, all right, I know it's only 2 games, but of course one is against Bama. And by the way, great day, FSU all around. Bama went out, and I haven't seen the final, but at halftime they were winning like 42-0, and Ty Simpson was 17-17. So yeah, Louisiana Monroe stinks, but Bama, who some people labeled as just falling off, looked like Bama against an inferior team. They're beating the fuck out of them. So that was good to see. As far as it looks, no major injuries. Squirrel White left with like a little hand injury. But, next weekend's a bye week. Then after that, it's Kent State. So it's like really 2 bye weeks. And then James Williams, the defensive end, left with some kind of leg injury. Same deal. He should be back by the time the games matter again by the Friday night game versus Virginia. A worst case, back by the Miami game, October 6th. So plenty of time for those guys to get right. You were hoping that, given the opponent, that, you might try and get the receivers involved a little bit just to get some some game reps and some continuity with Castellanos, and it didn't take long. Deuce Robinson went off. Uh, the Johnny Wilson comparison's obvious because the height, but man, he looks a little more fluid than Johnny. I ain't gonna lie. Like Johnny was, fast for his size, but Deuce literally looks like he can run routes and come in and out of slants and posts, and he just looks more fluid, which is scary. And if he has hands, which he showed today, he had 6 targets, 5 catches. If he has hands like that all season, it's going to be a fun season for that kid. He finished the game with like 150 yards receiving, which he pretty much all had in the first quarter. So that was good to see to get him involved. Castellanos had all day to throw. The offensive line dominated. Again, you hope they do against a shitty team, but they didn't disappoint. They definitely pushed people around. Let's see. What else to note? The defense was still aggressive. They didn't take this shitty team for granted. They still attacked and flew all over the field. Little got an easy pick. Jackson started the game with a sack. Just getting after it, which you like to see with any opponent. It seems like this team's mentality is we don't give a fuck who the opponent is. We're going to go balls to the wall every play, which is a huge turnaround from last year. And it's hard not to just point at, yes, the players get most of the credit, but it's just hard not to point at the new coordinators as just a huge difference, man. Again, I know, it's a shitty opponent, but once again, the team looked buttoned up on both sides of the ball. They had a turnover, but it was the freaking 4th-string QB, a guy I never heard of named Grant, playing for FSU. Apparently his grandfather threw the first ever TD pass in FSU history. So that's kind of cool. You got a ton of kids to play. Jermaine Johnson's little brother toted the rock some. You shuffled in offensive linemen kind of early, actually. I think it was it Izzy or Izzo, whatever the hell his name is? He got in early, but of course, by the second quarter and definitely by the third, there was a whole new O-line in there. And Simmons, that was funny watching him, dude. There's a couple plays where he was pulling, and he's just a huge dude. He's I think 6'7", 6'8", obviously 300 plus. And a couple times I'm watching him pull, and just some poor FCS defensive back is like, oh, fuck me, and just like, I didn't blame the kid, just like running the opposite direction. Like it was comical. So you got to get a lot of guys get action. It was cool to see Javon Boggs get his first TD. Also, but his biggest play, or his most impressive play, was the blocking he did on that long. I think it was a screen pass to maybe Sawchuk. Yeah, I think it was Sawchuk. Just was blocking the guy like for 20 yards down the field to allow that kind of easy rush. Dansby, excuse me. I'm a Cubs fan. I want to say Dansby, like Dansby Swanson. Dansby once again on like the same reverse play. It's like the moment the ball's pitched and you see the FSU blockers getting out, it's like you already know, like he's gone. Especially against a team like that, he's fucking gone. The numbers are of course hysterical. Over 700 yards of offense, 10 yards per play. I think ETAM had like 4 yards of play, which again, a lot of that is against FSU's backup, so it would have been even more feeble, obviously, if the starters stayed in. But you took care of business and then some. The yards they had at halftime was like 416. Was the most yards and a half by any team so far in the first 2 weeks. Just a lot of fun watching Gus do his thing as the OC. He only has to care about the offense. I think it's a big deal. Like, I think he's in his wheelhouse now. Doesn't have to worry about everything. It's just the offense. And when you have the O line that it looks like FSU has, which is I'm pinching myself thinking that they have a good O line, but it appears they might. And then a mobile QB in Gus's offense, and Tommy, who like can pass a little bit. Like he's not great by any stretch. He's been great so far with passing, but he's not a great thrower by any stretch. But it's not like Nick Marshall that Gus had, in 2013, where a converted defensive back, huge athlete, like running the offense and then throwing on occasion. Like Castellanos is at least like a competent thrower with the athleticism. It's just there's so many tools he can work with. The Lucas gadget, Danzy, like I said, and then you have receivers like Deuce you can toss it up to on play action. Squirrel White, like I said, who may have got hurt earlier, is another guy that can stretch the field. Like you start to think, down the road on what this offense can be, and you have to assume health, of course, but assuming health, I mean, who's going to stop them? Who's going to stop them? Like Miami obviously could slow them down because Miami's front looks really good and very talented. Clemson's defense is definitely good, but then again, Troy moved the ball a little bit on them today. Not a ton, but a little bit. But you don't see a team, Florida, who lost to South Florida today. Go Gates. Napier's not it, dude. He's not it. I actually thought he could be a pretty decent coach because of his recruiting, but he can't get out of his own way. Again, the offense they have, which is talented. The line, DJ Lagway, it just looks clunky. He's not getting the most out of what he has in year 4 so far. But is their defense going to slow us down? Doubtful. Again, I'm not making any huge predictions here on season win total, but when you saw Deuce get involved with the deep threat, and you start to dream, like, man, this season could be a lot of fun. But yeah, truly enjoyed it. Next week, like I said, is the bye week, which sucks because like when the team's good, you can't wait till the next Saturday. Unlike last year where the team was terrible, I was like, oh, when do they play? Don't care. They're god awful and it's frustrating to watch. Don't care. Been a fan for 30 plus years. Like, I don't need to see them get their ass kicked. I've seen that plenty of times over the years. So yeah, that's a lot of fun. That now looking forward to every Saturday. What else can I hit on? There's not much more to say about a game that was 77-3. Other than that, Jesus Christ, they didn't fuck around. They didn't play with their food. Like, remember, even last year, the infamous, North Alabama game where we lost, or 2 years ago, where we lost Jordan Travis to the broken leg and cost us a playoff spot because the committee's fucking biased and wanted to give Saban a swan song. But anyways, that game started out fucking around. It seemed like playing with their food, right? And so Travis was still in there later than he should have been. So I do wonder, looking forward to Kent State, like, yes, the starters will start the game. But will you pull them a little earlier? The way that today's game went, you could have pulled the starters after the first quarter. You're probably still winning by 60. And Kent State ain't much better. So it's like, will Mike kind of learn from his, past? Like, don't be throwing Castellanos out there in the second half versus Kent State. Like, like, let's not do that. Need to be healthy here because, like, I don't know if this has been said too much. I really like so far what we've seen, and it's not perfect. Like, I still have concerns about the FSU secondary once they play a better quarterback. And the linebackers in coverage, until I see it for a long stretch, I always worry about that, whatever FSU team. But I like the starting 22, but behind that, do we have the requisite depth? I, don't, I doubt it. I doubt it, man. It depends on the position. But like for instance, if Daryl Jackson went down, that'd be rough. Obviously, if Castellanos went out, if our center Pettibon went out, now again that would hurt most teams losing those guys and those positions. But yeah, the starting 44, probably not nearly as talented as say Clemson's 44 or Miami's or whatever. So, knock on wood, you got to be careful how you play these guys. Is the point? The next two games, Kent State and Virginia. Virginia gave up a ton of points, say, to a pretty mediocre NC State team. So, but it is a Friday night game, so I guess that could get kooky. But either way, I am waiting with bated breath for October 6th against Miami. Like, if we're healthy, for the most part, I think there's a chance we could really punch him in the mouth. I think it's a home game, if memory serves. I think we could really punch him in the fucking mouth. And kind of stymie their talented front seven with all the misdirection shit Gus does. And really give him fits. And we'll see how Beck does over his next couple games, but I don't know how healthy his arm is because his deep balls, at least in the Notre Dame game, it looked like he was lacking a little zip. So I'm curious to see how that comes along. He's mobile enough, but he's not like he's not Cam Newton back there going to run on you. So if our defensive line keeps playing like it's playing, there's a chance you could really throw him off his platform, so to speak. But anyway, I'm rambling now. Impressive win. Not because of just the score, 77-3. But just they went about their business and took it seriously. And just beat the brakes off this team. So that was fun to see. Anyway, that's it. That's all. I'll probably be back in a couple weeks. If I'm not on here after Kent State, I'll probably definitely be on here after Virginia. Obviously, I'll be on here after Miami. But man, you really start thinking what this team can accomplish if it stays this focused and energized. Well, that's it. That's all. I'm out.